We are about a month into the Pokemon home metagame, and there's been a dominance of new Pokemon, whether it be Pokemon like Enamorus or old Pokemon like Great Tusk. However, rather than talk about all of them, I think it's best we give some shine to some of the old Pokemon not mentioned enough, as I think these 5 Pokemon are actually pretty good in the metagames themselves and aren't nearly talked about enough. This list, by the way, is in no particular order. First one up, we have Iron Treads. I know people have said this a lot. If it wasn't for Great Tusk's existence, we've talked about this Pokemon way more. It's fast, decent attack, good physical bulk, and special bulk, move pool, etc. It's got it all. Ground and Steel is a very good type combo considering the new Pokemon that are in the tier right now. With the Assault Vest variation especially, this helps track down popular meta Pokemon like Enamorus, Slowking, Zapdos, Gholdengo to a degree, etc. The list goes on and on. Most of these Pokemon, if not all, are not good matchups for Great Tusk anyways, thus this is really where Iron Treads thrives. On top of this, it's still privy to a lot of good moves that Tusk has, like Knockoff, Rapid Spin to keep its utility going. With 1+ Rapid Spin on a Jolly Natured Treads, this can allow it to outspeed meta threats like Cinderace, Dragapult, or non-boosted Valiant. This thing as well also gets Stealth Rock, so it can be a fast rock setter for your team if you so choose not to run the AV set. Personally, from experience, this thing is fairly common on rain teams from time to time, as it helps fill for that special wall and electric immunity for its side. It's also fairly common on teams that need an Enamorus check or Hisuian Arcanine check. As for Arcanine, it can outspeed it naturally and can Terra faster if need be. Overall, its steel typing, speed, and good AV sets has actually made this thing fairly decent in the metagame, and is probably someone you probably expect to stay in OU because of its versatility, even though many people still think it's going to drop to UU one month or another. Next up, we have Clodsire. Clodsire before the update was fairly good as a walking weight check alongside other very special attackers in the metagame, but now I feel like this Pokemon is really solidifying itself and showing why it's so incredible as a special defensive wall. Unaware for the most part was pretty popular pre-home, but I think now its water absorb sets have been so underrated in this metagame more so than ever. While it's true setting up can be an issue, I think water absorb provides way more utility to the Pokemon running around in the tier. Water absorb Clodsire naturally helps against most rain teams featuring masculine male or female, Pelipper, Zapdos, etc. It by itself is a great counter for the most part. Zapdos especially, since Zapdos really only have electric type moves, Heat Wave, Roost, or Hurricane, all of which are easily walled by Clodsire, and with Clodsire's presence it often can be difficult to click water type moves because of that ability. Walking Wake, like always, gets bodied by this Pokemon, and this set can really help stop Choice Specs Volcanion, which has gotten its fair share of competitive viability as well in this metagame. Poison and ground typing as well is huge in this metagame, primarily a metagame, as I said before, with the popular Enamorus running around. It also serves to be a great matchup against the ever popular Gholdengo, who seems to be everywhere as hazards are going up around more and so ever. Clodsire can also easily come in and threaten it out with an EQ because of its overwhelming bulk as always. And plus, as an addition, it's also not that hard to get a recover off if needed, as pretty much it can stall out most special attackers as well. Plus, Clodsire serves to be an excellent matchup to over 12+ Pokemon in the tier, and so this allows it to come in and go for Toxic or Stealth Rocks quite safely onto the opponent's side. I will say though, Tinglu, Tusk, Lando are quite common, and Earth Power is a thing that can run by various special attackers, so this is partially the reason why Clodsire hasn't been mentioned all that much, but if you're playing correctly and playing predictably, you should be able to find this isn't a hard problem to get around as long as you have the right teammates around as well. For instance, Rocky Helmet Corviknight can help alleviate most of the physical ground attackers as I mentioned earlier, which can help clear up a lot of Clodsire's weaknesses. Overall, Clodsire has been a huge help in the metagame, and is definitely a Pokemon to add to your team to corrupt some key holes. Third on our list, we have Alolan Muk. Now, this is actually a very interesting one that has definitely been under the radar. Alolan Muk has a great defensive typing of Poison and Dark, allowing it to have multiple great matchups into some of the tier's most daunting Pokemon. However, this is not all, as its Assault Vest variation has been the standard for its gameplay, allowing it to wall multiple Pokemon like Gholdengo, Enamorus, etc. on the special side too. While sure, it doesn't resist fairy type moves, it isn't weak to them either. At least it can come in on the switch with an Assault Vest and scare it out with a Poison type move. Poison typing in addition helps to block off toxic spikes and toxic users like Clodsire and Slowking lurking around the tier as well. In addition, it also helps further block psychic type moves, for instance like Future Sight from Slowking thanks to the immunity with its dark type. There are probably around 10 Pokemon in the OU tier where it can consistently come in on a switch and handle them with the ease, with the majority of them being special attackers, which is a good sign. Not just that, but this Pokemon is also surprisingly good on the offensive end as well. It's got a good array of coverage moves of Gunk Shot to the punches as well as Knockoff, which has been rare to find across across the tier, which then as well in addition turn this glob into a powerful asset. Being able to come in on a lot of powerful special attackers and clicking threatening knockoff as they stay in or switch out is pretty good. Alolan Muk also has the ability Poison Touch, which in addition can be a double knockout scenario as contact moves has a 30% chance to also pass poison towards the opponent's Pokemon. This makes it especially tricky at times to figure out which Pokemon are going to switch in, and also not to just avoid the huge knockoff potential but also the Poison Touch ability, etc, etc. You know, all those kind of things kind of creep up into the opponent's mind. Obviously though, just like Clodsire, the huge knock on this Pokemon as its heavy weakness to the ground type, as that is one of, if not the most common type running around right now, which again is a huge deal, and probably the reason why it's not being talked a bunch. However, again, as long as it has reliable teammates around it, it actually isn't all that bad. But also another thing is, unlike Clodsire, it doesn't have any good way to recover its health other than Drain Punch, so in the end, you have to be a bit more calculated when playing this Pokemon on the defensive end as well, watching out for not only hazards, but also in addition, you also get the most opportunity cost for this Pokemon when using it. In general though, this Pokemon has been a pretty solid choice, and I've been pleasantly surprised how generally decent it has been in the OU tier. Following Alolan Muk, we got Ceruledge. Ceruledge pre-home was amazing with its Terra Bug Flash Fire sets, but then after home drop, I feel like people kind of forgot that this set is still existing. Don't get me wrong, the amount of Earth Power users now and the infamous 3 running around, it is a bit more difficult around than it used to be, but that's where Air Balloon Flash Fire Ceruledge is born. I've personally used this Ceruledge and have huge success as Flash Fire helps take care of the Mystical Fire Enamorus or even its Therian form, which is most likely usually always choiced, or against Magma Storm Heatran. Or if you're feeling more risky, you can bait choice specs Volcanion to be locked into a fire move and then switch out into Ceruledge, or even other Pokemon like Walking Wake's Flamethrower too. In any case, these are some massive checks running around in the format in which a blink of an eye can help boost Ceruledge's damage on Bitter Blade as well, or just fire moves in general. And because it gets boosted right after, it can either go for a strong Bitter Blade or take its time and set up with either a bulk up or a Swords Dance. This is not all. Its Air Balloon helps alleviate the big ground weakness it has, and I often find myself using this as a check and a pivot into another Pokemon, since 99% of the time, like a Heatran for example, won't stick around and just take a close combat, which then will basically open up a free switch in the turn after. Or like I mentioned before, you can just use this opportunity to instead just set up to your opponent's side. The choice is really yours. Now you can bring up obviously Pokemon threats like maybe Great Tusk for instance, which has probably on paper the greatest countermeasure to this Pokemon. However, I would hardly disagree as this actually helps Ceruledge take full advantage of its offense arsenal to be unleashed. In my opinion, you can actually look forward to Great Tusk switch-ins or even occasional Landorus. This is because Ceruledge wants to take advantage of its Terra capability with Terra Bug with the resisting ground and fighting moves while being immune to fire thanks to its Flash Fire ability. Ceruledge literally then puts huge amounts of offensive pressure towards their opponent's side since they have committed to either a knockoff or an EQ, to which now you can take advantage and set up for at least 2 free turns and then dish out a mean attack thereafter. And with priority as well in Shadow Sneak, this strategy can snowball real quickly, and I have a good experience as to winning several matches and opponents forfeiting as soon as this mistake arrives. One of the best defensive cores I'm currently using is Corviknight, Clodsire, and Ceruledge, each of which can pick on each other's weaknesses, and in Ceruledge's case can be a surprising one given its Air Balloon and Flash Fire versatility. This Pokemon has been amazing either way when I face against it or use it myself, and I won't be surprised soon if this becomes a talk of the town again. The last Pokemon I'd like to mention is Glimmora. No, not Toxic Debris Glimmora, but Supportive Corrosion Set Glimmora. Supportive Corrosion Set Glimmora is probably the most interesting one out of the 5, but the Pokemon Home metagame is kind of allowed to make use of the second ability more so than ever before. Corrosion is an ability that helps poison any target no matter what typing they are, even steel types like Hisuian Gudra to even the most popular poison type of Glowking as well. And with steel Pokemon like Hisuian Gudra, Heatran, Corviknight, Kingambit, etc. pretty prominent in the metagame, it has allowed it for it to thrive with this ability. This version of Glimmora also serves wonderfully as a focus sash lead option into Pokemon like Hisuian and Samurott. This is because Glimmora gets the move Spiky Shield, which is like Protect, but it deals damage if someone makes contact during the turn. So Cease's Edge into Glimmora to either break the sash or get general chip damage, and then thereafter hit Samurott on the following turn with the Energy Ball is really good. And if Focus Sash is the item broken, Glimmora is faster by 1 point anyway, so will outspeed and kill it barring priority. But even if this is obvious to your opponent, you can literally then go for a free Toxic as they switch out because there's nothing, and absolutely nothing, to counter it, which can really catch many opponents off guard and crucial chip damage onto opposing Pokemon. Getting Toxic on Pokemon like Kingambit, Gudra, Heatran, etc. is so critical because 1, Steel is an obvious great natural defensive typing, and 2, if you notice with these Pokemon for the most part, they can take a couple hits and dish back an even more powerful one. So limiting their lifespan on the battlefield alongside hazard gameplay can help out so much. and because of all that, you can clean them up as needed with priority as well from your side. Toxic as well on Slowking can be really helpful in reducing the amount of turns it is on the battlefield as well, as it sits there as a tanky wall, dishing out future sites to Yawns, to Toxics, to etc. I haven't seen people at all talk about it as much as they should, and even myself when I first heard about it, like I was confused at first, but looking at it now, this seems very interesting as an unexplored Pokemon in this Pokemon Home metagame. Spike, Shield, Energy Ball, Toxic, and the last move is debatable. You can put Mortal Spin to get rid of hazards, or something like Sludge Wave or Power Gem. The choice is really yours if you want extra power. And this is not to say Toxic Debris is bad. I would argue it's still good, but the rise of Galarain Slowking really dampens this in my opinion because it's so easy to get rid of Toxic Spikes, or even something with like Clodsire. As I mentioned before, there are really good steel types as well running around, so realistically Toxic Spikes will be mostly inefficient when facing those teams. Sure, getting one Pokemon perhaps to fall in that trap is nice, but it isn't super reliable and doesn't demand as much counterplay as pre-home Glimmora did. Anyways, these are 5 underrated Pokemon in the metagame right now, of course in my opinion. This video took a long time to make, so if you guys really enjoyed yourselves, I would so appreciate if you guys would subscribe to the channel for more competitive content just like this. We're almost to 8K by the recording of this video, and then 10K soon, so join to be part of the before 10K gang. Let me know in the comments below any other Pokemon I missed, what Pokemon you would change to this list, and a huge shout out to my Discord server for helping me out with the ideas. If you guys want to join the Discord and be part of the fun, link is in the description down below as well. Anyways, yeah, that's about it. See you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.